Could this be the end of the Pokemon anime? Well, okay, maybe not in so many words, but potentially there could be changes. I'm just gonna say though, these are all rumors, so there's leaks, but you know, rumors, right, of leaks of the Pokemon anime potentially going through some changes within the coming years or months or so. This came out like a week ago. I figured I'd discuss it though, because after sitting on it for about a week, it's very interesting. So obviously in terms of the main Pokemon anime right now, they've been making a lot of changes, obviously, or at least, you know, with Journeys and then going into Horizons now. When it comes to Horizons, I am only caught up on the dub version of it, or at least wherever the dub is, that's about how far I am, normally. But, so what's going on here is that, end of the era, Pokemon Horizons finally will be the final weekly Pokemon anime. Starting in Gen 10, the Pokemon anime will be seasonal with a shorter fixed number of episodes. Like I said, rumors right now, but it's gotten a lot of people feeling a lot of things. If you don't know the Pokemon anime right now, normally they make each season about like 50 to 60 episodes between that, and they're meant to air basically every week, to where the Pokemon anime, you know, is just about every week with maybe a few breaks here and there in between, but typically you're just always getting Pokemon anime, and especially too, one season begins right after the other. Again, you know, maybe a break in between. And that is a system that is used for a lot of children's anime. Digimon did that back in the day when we were getting Digimon series back to back to back. And then, you know, a lot of other kids anime tend to do that. Yu-Gi-Oh did that when that was going, and we got all the way up to Go Rush. And, you know, goodbye Go Rush. But, so yeah, obviously people who like this format, people who have been enjoying the show, and Horizon specifically because that is the one that's currently airing, and people who like having their weekly Pokemon anime, again, you know, that there's a whole thing about that where it's coming out weekly in Japan, however the distribution method worldwide ends up being different. I think in the UK they have like BBC iPlayer, that's what they use. Here in the US they use Netflix, and then various other countries they use various other methods, right? Very typical of children's anime just like this. However, it's very different from the standard of like, okay, well, here it comes out in Japan, an hour later it's on Crunchyroll, and if you want to bypass Crunchyroll, there are other ways to do that. And those are the methods that obviously most Pokemon fans use in order to watch the show weekly. So there's a whole thing about that, right? About there being no official way to watch the episodes when they come out, aside from waiting months later for them to come out on whatever streaming service is available in your country there is. So obviously there's like some goods and bads, I guess, obviously to this happening, right? Say if Pokemon does go to a more seasonal format, in all honesty, after sitting and thinking for a bit, I don't think that's the worst thing. Obviously it doesn't have to be 12 episode seasons, and you know, every other anime is different. Some anime will get like a 12 episode season, and then 10 years later they'll finally get back to making even more, right? Re-Zero. But with Pokemon, potentially, and again, you know, just some brainstorming stuff, but let's say hypothetically, rather than the 50 to 60 episodes every week, right, filling up an entire year, and then the next season starts right after that, what if we go to, let's say, 24 episodes, and maybe that happens every year, right? Seasonal anime can, of course, be 12 to 24 episodes. Things all depend. But, you know, fingers crossed, right? 12 episodes, maybe we could deal with, but let's say 24. Let's say they cut things in half, and instead of doing about 52 episodes a year, they do like 24, 25, something along those lines. Will that necessarily be the worst thing? With Pokemon's budget and how popular it is, and especially the fact that the anime can be used to sell things, right? I think we've been seeing that pretty recently with Horizons, and how they're really wanting to connect to basically all other forms of Pokemon entertainment, but like Pokemon is too big to give up the anime completely. We do have like the spin-off stuff that comes out on YouTube, and those are like web shorts, and those are cool and stuff, but we're not at a point where those could replace a whole left by a weekly Pokemon anime in the same way that maybe a seasonal anime could. Again, you know, Yu-Gi-Oh fans, how you enjoying Chronicles, the card game Chronicles, as opposed to the weekly anime? I mean, I like card game Chronicles, I talk about on my Yu-Gi-Oh channel, but still, I don't think that a monthly web series on YouTube is enough to replace the previously weekly show that would happen on TV, and so on and so on. There's also this potential leak or rumor going around here about some of the anime. I think that supposedly this is supposed to be like for more of a Twilight Wings or Paved Winds kind of deal rather than like the main series anime. But you know, point is that potentially we could be seeing some changes. But let's say, you know, let me get back to that thought, and let's say that is the case. Let's say we do get 24 episodes a year for Pokemon. Maybe they even kind of split them up. Maybe we get like 12 episodes in the spring and then 12 episodes in the fall or so, and then that makes one season, and that's what we get, and maybe we repeat that, so on and so on. That does actually give the writers, the creators, the animators some more time. We could potentially see less episodes that have, I don't want to say filler, because a Pokemon anime isn't necessarily filler because of the different format that it uses, especially now, especially in a post-Journeys and Horizons world. But let's say, you know, more episodes that feel important, right? Especially for the storytelling that it seems like they really wanted to do with Horizons, and you can kind of focus on that and build that up. You could also really just enhance the animation as well, because, you know, potentially more time, and hopefully, you know, hopefully some well-paid people, right, for the other resources there in the animation. And like, you can still keep the hype going. Let's say, I mean, My Hero Academia just ended last year, and that was an anime that would get well, I think we got like 7 seasons across almost 10 years. I think that's about right. So obviously, and you know, these aren't like full seasons. Season 1 was like only 12 episodes, but just anime in general, right? You can keep people interested, you can keep the hype going through things other than just the show. You got your other stuff, you got your video games, you got your merchandise, and so on and so on, which obviously Pokemon has covered, right? Because especially when you look at it at that brand, and I know the anime characters are always going to be different from the ones that are appearing in the game. That's just how the Pokemon anime is, but if you do this wisely, there's that. It could also get a little more discussion. I know that, like, you know, thinking about this from a YouTuber's perspective, right? There are people who do talk about the episodes as they come out, and I think that is something that's very important. Something that's very important for the community and the discussion of the shows outside of just like the production stuff and the release systems, right? Just having people talk about them. And, you know, I'm not saying that like, oh, YouTubers are doing an important job, but if YouTubers are talking about a show, that's a good thing eventually. So, you know, look at it from this perspective, right? Of people who maybe make a video every week talking about the anime. Potentially, if it does go to seasonal and we are still getting like episodes there, maybe it gives them some more time in between to do other stuff. Maybe you get a little more hype whenever there is a season, because rather than like, you know, normally like with the anime happening every week, you get your hype stuff when something cool happens for an episode or two, and then it's there, right? You know, Journeys was even the last thing to kind of like really break the internet when Ash finally caught a Dragonite. Obviously, when it all ended, or at least when Ash became the champion, that was another big moment. So you still get those, but also, you know, those could be even more enhanced as well if it is a seasonal anime. Potentially it's like, oh, you know, Pokemon is back, and here's the next story arc that we're focusing on, and here's the cool thing that happened in it, and oh, we're building up to the season finale, or at least the mid-season finale, say, on it, so on and so on, which, you know, you still kind of predict and you still kind of know, right, from the anime being weekly. However, that could build up even more if it were seasonal, potentially, you know, just some brainstorming thoughts. But, you know, probably the one thing that I would be most interested in to see happen here if the anime does go seasonal is for things to just catch up. Again, you know, people are going to watch the episode how and when they want to. However, the fact that the distribution is so different, right? You know, Pokemon's still posting about like, hey, you know, part 4, or the way that they split things up too. Pokemon Horizons Season 3, Rising Hope Part 4 coming to Netflix on September 18th, so on and so on, right? But because, you know, they got to keep, and this was a recent post, more or less like on the same day that this rumor is going around. But, you know, they got to like remind people, and they got to keep them going, because that's how the Pokemon anime is, at least again in the US. We're going through Netflix, which is interesting. So potentially there could be a chance for them to kind of catch things up, right? Maybe potentially we could reach the point of getting a simulcast even. Fingers crossed, because then, you know, you kind of take a moment, you take a little break, and then let the English anime kind of run its course and be fully released. Then it's time to start up again, and then that is when you start doing the stuff of like, okay, we'll watch the episode, everybody watch the episode at the same time, we can all promote it and talk about it, you know, the way that other anime does. And again, like I said, I'm giving Pokemon the excuse because that is just how normal kids anime is. But when kids anime is doing really well and making some money, it doesn't necessarily have to be that way. you know, compare this to Digimon, right, which has been just doing great as of late, just on all fronts. But let's say the anime, and you know, I'm gonna say this. So Digimon still does a large format, right? They still do each series with about 50 to 60 episodes or so. However, there are more breaks in between, right? As soon as Beat Break ends, we're not going to get another series. We're going to have to wait a few months before the next series. And even then, Beat Break came like maybe a year after the end of the last anime. But even still, right, Digimon post 2020 has really been gaining momentum, and it has been able to keep it, and especially with the anime too. The first one they start off with was okay, Ghost Game. Some people liked it, varied in quality here and there, but then now Beat Break is really just kind of picking things up and doing really well, and so then it's leading into a lot of hype for the next one. But point is right, is that Digimon still, I like, you know, a little more mature, and I knock over my phone, a little more mature here and there than Pokemon, but it still does kind of follow that similar format of that big chunk of 50 episodes aired every week for about a year or so, but it's just that they put more time in between one series ending and the other one beginning, just because of the nature of a Digimon anime. But point is and the dub is still like a few episodes behind from this, but point is that they still release it as a simul dub. It's like big and everything, and they can still talk about and post about it on all fronts, right, to where people on Crunchyroll or wherever else they want to watch it when it comes out, it's there and it's easily available and they're up to date. And then when this ends, it's like, all right, great, thank you so much for watching Beat Break, that was fun, that was great, wasn't it? Okay, get excited for the next series, and then you can all start it on that front. You know, Digimon just in general, like I said, it's been doing really well. And especially too, because like, here's the thing. So Digimon has basically just about got the synced releases down. And again, I will say Digimon is going for a slightly older audience than Pokemon. And okay, it's a whole mess, but the whole thing of like Pokemon being a kids anime, having that release and having to like, okay, you only get it officially in the US, you only get it officially elsewhere when it's dubbed in your own language, and it's going to be on Netflix or whatever other easily accessible thing on your kid iPad is there, because that's the audience they're growing for. But I will say that I think Pokemon and Digimon are not too far behind, especially right, the original Digimon Adventure I think was just about, I mean, you know, same age protagonist as Pokemon, so they're contemporaries, they're buddies. So what I'm saying is that Digimon is just fully synced, right? We're getting the anime day and date elsewhere. We don't have to like go on to whatever other site to watch the anime. If you're a Crunchyroll supporter, you can watch it there, or heck, go on whatever other streaming service you want, because almost every other streaming service is just picking up anime now. So the card game as well. The card game is the big thing that's crazy. The card game is synced releases, as in when a set comes out just about everywhere, and that was a goal, you know, they really wanted to do. And of course the video games as well. So Digimon is just in that area, and that is, I think, is a big thing that's really contributing to it. You know, this is an old post, right, from earlier this month, but yeah, Digimon has officially become the most profitable than ever, or more profitable than ever before, by Bandai Namco, surpassing the franchise's profits from the original 2000s anime boom. Do you realize how crazy that is? Surpassing the profits. So this is like if Pokemon didn't peak with Pokemania. Well, then again, you know, I assume maybe 2016 was another big boom for Pokemon. They just make more and more money. But let's say, for all intents and purposes, let's say that Digimon, Digimon peak is now. That's crazy to think of. And so Pokemon, you know, it potentially gives them that chance to maybe catch up in that sense. I think that, you know, and going back to the whole thing of Pokemon being kids anime, and that's why they release it on Netflix, so on and so on, that doesn't have to be the case. Everything's easily accessible. I mean, heck, you know, we were talking about other places like Disney Plus. I'm on Disney Plus right now, and they've been releasing anime. You know, I'm not necessarily saying that Pokemon should move over to Disney Plus, but I actually think I have discussed some of the benefits, or some of the discussion, or like potentially, and again, you know, we're only talking official releases, but official releases are extremely important for an anime like this, because as much as we talk online, as much as we're going to go on to whatever website to watch the anime ourselves when we want to, the fact is that a large majority of people are going to watch it this way, the official release. So, you know, Netflix does the whole like batch releases for Pokemon and they're behind, but let's say hypothetically maybe Pokemon can catch up to a simuldub or simulcast even, or maybe they just, you know, let people watch the Japanese, which, okay, that's a whole other thing. During that era, during Scarlet Violet, I was almost convinced that they would do that. I don't have the visuals to pull up here, but you know, they released the first episode on YouTube, or at least half of the first episode of Pokémon Horizons early on, and the Iono trailer, they didn't even dub that when they put that out. That was just, you know, Japanese with subtitles. maybe, you know, they could get more comfortable. But once again, that's a whole, I hate that I keep coming back to that, but the whole weird discussion about kids anime being produced and released a certain way. But so let's say hypothetically they can catch up and they start releasing them, having like 2 seasons or so. Disney Plus is like carrying anime now, and Hulu as well. Disney Plus, Hulu, they're different, they're the same or whatever, but these are the other big streaming ones aside from Netflix, and they're still like around. But see, they're just, this is all a bunch of backlog of other old anime, but like all the Digimons are there too. You know, Disney really wants a piece of the anime cake. But look, Digimon Beat Break is here on Disney Plus, and I think it's caught up, right? I'm pretty sure, yeah, I'm pretty sure this is like the last episode that came out, or close to the last episode. Where am I? I'm on right here. I'm a little behind. But yeah, see, they're pretty close on here. And, you know, maybe it takes a little while. Maybe it takes like a day later because, you know, whatever intern needs to upload the video file, right? But I could see potential. I could see that maybe happening with Pokemon as well. It sounds scary. It sounds scary to say, oh, Disney's going to save us. They're not going to save us. What's going to save us is smart decisions and how to handle this and how to really properly cater to all of your fans, or at least most of your fans, in the best way possible. That really shows you care about the quality of the show, the distribution and the discussion of a show, and everything else around it. But I think that is about where I want to end it for today. Basically everything I had to say about the rumors and discussions here. Like I said, you know, this could just not be happening. They could just be continuing on with the weekly anime. They could not be doing the seasonal stuff. But those are some of my thoughts. I think that there are some positives to this, as long as they approach this the right way and use it to correct a lot of the issues and a lot of problems with, you know, maybe not just the anime itself, but everything else around it, the distribution of it. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Like I said, you know, we could just be talking about nothing, and the anime continues on as normal. Which in that case, if that is how you like it and that is how you like to consume it, great. Good. But otherwise, let me know your thoughts and comments below. What do you think this could be an opportunity to change or to fix? And hopefully this video came out well. I had to stop here and there to really just, you know, cool off because it's pretty warm. But anyway, let me know what you think in the comments below. Share your thoughts as well. And I hope you're enjoying all the videos here on the second channel. Anyway, this is GatorX. Catch you all later.